Yay. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining our webinar today. This is Orientation and Mobility for Winter Travel. I am going to share my screen so that you can just see all the awesomeness. And all right, here's our presentation. 1 minute, I just want to make sure everybody is good to go. I'm going to keep up a little thumbnail of everyone, so don't mind my technical difficulties here. Talk amongst yourselves. There we go. All right, so O&M for winter travel. Here we go. So I try to make these PowerPoints so that they're easy to see for folks. So anyway, so the objectives of what we're going to do today are, and there's a quote from one of the people who designed O&M trainings. If the principles of your orientation are well learned, you'll be well prepared for dealing with adverse effects of weather. So, and most of us in this training are no stranger to winter weather. So during this training, you're going to increase your knowledge of O&M techniques that may be helpful for walking in snow and ice, knowledge of appropriate outerwear. We're going to talk a lot about clothing and boots and wearing layers, and other equipment and things that are really, really great to have for being out in winter weather. And you're going to increase your knowledge of resources for advocacy for pedestrians, and especially folks with vision impairments. And there's also a lot of information in here about how to access state, local, national government regs for maintaining access during winter weather. So a lot of good information in here. And we're going to basically go over it, and you can. And again, we're sending out a copy of this afterwards, and I can even mail you a copy if that works, so that you'll have all this information. Because nobody remembers
that would be
everything.
good to me. That would be great.
Okay. Okay, so I want to get to like the real meat of this, and so the suggestions for walking in winter weather are, and I'm speaking to folks who are mostly long white cane users, because these are just some ideas of how to travel in the winter weather. So one of the things you can do, these are some suggestions from my friends in Massachusetts and Maine. So I kind of went right to the source. So walking like a penguin, is the official technique, we can call it. Keep your knees loose, extend your arms to the sides to try and keep your balance. And Canadians know how to deal with winter. So I always encourage folks not to keep your hands in your pockets, especially if you've got mobility concerns, vision concerns, and all of that. Be prepared with gloves or hand warmers, because if your hands are in your pockets and you start to fall or lose your balance, they're going to be hindered and all of that. So, try to keep your hands warm, keep them out of your pockets. One of the things you can do is kind of use a longer cane when you're walking, kind of to just get more sense of what's in front of you. When you're walking like a penguin, you're going to point your feet out to the sides, and you're going to bend your knees and walk flat-footed. You're not going to take long strides. You're not going to run, and you're going to take really short steps. So for your folks in North Carolina, you can just kind of giggle at us doing all these things. So that's a technique that can help. Things to consider are, you got to walk slower and plan for your route to take a longer time. One of the techniques and skills for traveling with vision impairment are your sense of time and distance, and that's going to be off if you're traveling through snow. One of the really good ideas, if you have to climb up over a snowbank, you're going to walk up sideways. Be really careful. Obviously, do it slow to maintain your balance. A lot of people really like having a ski pole, or some people call them hiking poles or walking sticks, that can help with balance. Some people, or they'll swap out, instead of that, they'll use a long white cane with a pencil tip, which is just a skinny little piece of plastic on the bottom that's really nice and durable. And that can help with balance. You kind of plant it, you know, just really remember that, you know, hiking and ski poles are really sturdy and they're meant to bear your weight, and they can kind of brace the ground to a point. I have some pictures of them further on. But remember, your long white mobility cane, you know, the white one with the red tip and the black handle, is not designed to bear your weight. So if you are, you know, trying to pull yourself up or leaning on it, just remember those are designed to slide on the ground and not hold you up. So please remember that. Um, but you know, similar to that, you can use a walking stick or a hiking pole. One of the techniques that I think is really, really helpful to get around a block sidewalk is the 3-point touch long white cane technique. And I have a video to show you. The 3-point touch technique, you're basically extending your cane out in front of your midline in standard grip, just like you always do, kind of like a golf club. And, you know, the way in general when you walk with a long white cane is you basically, your cane goes in that 10 to 2 width, you know, an inch past your shoulders, touching the ground. You're touching the ground in that 10 to 2 spot in front of you, just 2 places to cover where you're walking. So 3-point touch is when you're trying to keep track of something on that you're traveling parallel to. So if you're basically, if you're trying to get around a sidewalk that's blocked either with leaves or debris or construction or a horrible puddle or snow, you know, you're going to go down into the street or go around it, you know, very carefully. Of course, keep in mind what the street's like, what the traffic is, have an idea of what the risk is of going around um, around this blockage. And you're going to walk parallel to your sidewalk using the 3-point touch technique, which basically is you're tapping, you know, 10 to 2 and then doing a third touch up on the area that you're trying to monitor. So it does throw off your rhythm, but you can pretend you're waltzing, you know, 1, 2, 3, whatever. But that is the best technique for getting around things. So I'm going to show everybody a video of this. Everybody good so far?
Yeah.
Yay! All right.
3-point touch. 3-point touch is something we do when we have lost our sidewalk and we figure that it might show up again. So say I'm walking along the sidewalk and all of a sudden the sidewalk ends, you know, say there's a big bush here or something, and I'm forced to go out into the street. As I'm walking in the street, I still want to keep looking for my sidewalk to see if it appears. This particular section of street is kind of rounded, so this will look a little strange, but it should still work for us. So 3-point touch, a lot like 2-point touch, except for we also want to check up on the curb. So it's going to throw off our timing a little bit. We still want to try to stay in step if we can. But as we are walking along, we're going to tap outside of our, in this case, my left shoulder, tap at the base of the curb, and then tap on top of the curb. Again, we're just looking for concrete. We're looking for, hey, has our sidewalk reappeared? You still want to make sure that you are tapping off to your left. You don't just want to tap at the base of the curb and up, base of the curb and up, because there could be a vehicle parked right here, and if there is, I'm just going to smack right into it. Speaking of vehicles, since we are out in the street, our kids like to have their hands, you know, nice and low and by their hip, but again, if there's a truck bumper, I'm going to slide right under it with my cane, and I'm going to slam into it at full speed, and that really hurts. So it's a good idea to use a cane technique such as the high-centered grip or the pencil grip that give you more protection up high, because you never know when you do have somebody with a lift kit on their Jeep or their pickup truck or what have you. So tapping on your left, in this case, if I was going the other way, I'd be tapping on my right, tapping at the base of the curb, tapping up on the grass. Staying in step is extremely difficult just because I have 3 taps now, not 2. At the same time, if I'm too far out of step and there is a bumper or something, I'll hit it if essentially I'm too far out of step and I'm a little too close to where my cane is striking the curb. So you try to stay in step as much as you can. But as a parent or somebody in a supervision permit, the main pieces that we're working on, we're tapping outside of the body, in this case on my left, tapping at the base of the curb, tapping up on the curb. And again, the whole point is to try to find a sidewalk, which we're coming up to And we would use this technique if we believed there was a sidewalk at some point. If you've been down this road before, you know there is no sidewalk, then you're probably just doing a 2-point touch, because this third tap, if you know there's not going to be a sidewalk, is just kind of wasted energy, and it's throwing my rhythm way off. You know, I've adjusted my pace to walk a little bit slower, again, because you have to worry about something like a truck bumper coming out and getting you. But I've just found my sidewalk, so now that I've found my sidewalk, now I can get up on my sidewalk and continue my route. So 3-point touch, again, tapping outside of the body, in this case on my left, tapping at the base of the curb, tapping on the curb. We don't want to tap here and then all the way on the curb. We want to make sure we hit that curb because we want to stay close to the curb. We don't want to find that we're all of a sudden kind of veering out away from the curb and then into traffic. We want to stay very close to the curb. So tapping here at the base of the curb tells us that yes, we're right by the curb. So we tap outside, we tap at the base of the curb, and we tap on top of the curb. Outside to protect ourselves, here to make sure that we're close to the curb, here to look for our sidewalk. Try to stay as in step as we can, and try to use a cane technique that gives us a little bit of height. Instead of down here by the hip, you know, the high-centered or the pencil grip, in order to make sure that we've got, you know, coverage up top. So that is 3-point touch.
Okay, so what did everybody think? So I'm just going to take a break from the slideshow for a minute, and I really just want to go over 3-point touch. So I like this guy's videos. I find him very helpful. If you ever want to just have additional resources, this guy's great. And the link for the video is in the PowerPoint. So when you get a copy of this, you can just click on that. You'll find a lot of videos talk about kids because the bulk of the training and curriculums out there are for working with kiddos, but we're all human and this is what we do. So, so the thing that I really want you guys to remember for 3-point touch is, you know, you're walking parallel to your path because you're, you know, traveling around something and you're trying to stay out of the way of traffic as much as possible. That high center grip, you're going to hold your cane at midline in front of you. Try not to have it down at your hip. I know a lot of folks do that because it's kind of a not great habit, but I'm aware folks do that. I advise you not to do that with 3-point touch because you also want to, when you're walking in the street, you know, you want to protect the middle of your body from walking into the back of a parked car. And we talked about a truck with a lift kit and all of that. So, you know, and that high center grip, you know, you're basically holding your cane almost right in front of your chest. You're kind of bringing it up a little bit, but within a reasonable space with the tip extended from your feet because you still want to have enough time to react to any changes in terrain. So you got your high center grip, or you can use a pencil grip. And then when you're sweeping your cane, essentially, if you could remember outside, inside, and up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep. We wait up. Hey, it's Friday.
Yep.
Okay. So, you know, and again, this technique is great for walking around weeds on a sidewalk that hasn't been cleared, or just trying to think of what other things walking around, big old puddle, stuff like that. So, so any questions about that?
I have a question.
You? Oh my God, it's Gloria. Yes.
My question is changing the tip on your cane or having a cane with another tip for winter travel. I noticed that the gentleman had the pencil tip, which gets stuck on everything.
Yeah.
So what would your ideas be for that,
Yeah,
if any?
No, that's an excellent question, and we're going to talk about that going forward. So
Okay.
Hold on to that one. Yeah, that's a really good good question. So, yeah, no problem. Okay. I love questions. Lets me know everybody's here and excited. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. Now, one second. I'm going to close my window. Oh, for the love of Pete. I am very professional, right, people?
Yeah.
Smile and nod. Yay. Okay. Where, we were talking about 3-point touch. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. So, you know, and again, this slide talks about different ways to walk, the penguin thing, going over snowbanks, and 3-point touch. The next technique I'm going to talk about is this is something that I have tried with my younger students because they're usually the ones who have to walk through the snow to get home. So one of my little, and I don't have a video of this one, but I think this is a really good idea of the way to walk. You're gonna hold your cane in.
Somebody's phone's like crinkling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine too.
I'm gonna mute everybody for a minute, okay?
Thank you.
While I'm sharing my screen, do you guys just see the presentation or do you see the array of faces?
Right now, we have all the blocks with faces. And
Okay, just wanted to double check.
Yep, no screen.
Okay, so you know what I'm gonna minimize the heck out of this. I'm gonna mute everybody and I'll unmute you. Hopefully that will try. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep that way up in the corner there. Okay, thank you for bearing with me. Okay, so this technique that I like again is basically imagine that you're holding your cane in front of you in shepherd's grip, you know, at your midline, you know, kind of like right in front of your middle, and you're gonna extend your arm forward. You know, you're not gonna extend your arm all the way forward to lock it in front of you, but you know, roughly you want your cane to be parallel to you and hitting the ground roughly one step ahead of you. Okay. And so as it's written here in shepherd's grip, you know, obviously you can hold it further down on the shaft if that's comfortable, because sometimes your arm might be raised up a little bit higher. So you can hold on to the shaft parallel to you, extend it away from your body, and you're basically going to probe the ground in front of you to check for footing. Okay, you're gonna, and I will demonstrate this. Jean just put up a good question, so yeah. Okay, so you're gonna basically move your cane in front of you and put it in. You're gonna plant it into the ground in front of you, just to probe and check. Okay, is there anything there? Is there ice or anything? Especially if it's a deep snowbank and you're not quite sure what's underneath it. And then you're gonna, you know, lift the, you know, so once you've cleared that spot, you're gonna lift the cane up out of whatever you're stuck it into, and then just move it horizontally in front of you and probe it, you know, for your next step. So, you know, so the idea with this is to kind of get an idea of what you're walking into. And sorry, I'm getting suggestions from my colleague while I'm doing this, which are really good suggestions, so that's awesome. So you're gonna move your cane side to side and kind of plant it into the ground in front of you. And by moving your cane parallel, you know, have it standing up straight parallel to your body, perpendicular to the ground. And, you know, you're gonna plant it in front and then move it to your opposite side, plant it down there and then walk forward, move it to the opposite side. If you can keep the cane tip from, you know, you don't want to lift it super high off the ground, because if you still want to find obstacles in front of you, but you just kind of like lift and plant it. You could do this with hiking poles. You could do it with two things, be it hiking poles or long white canes. So I am going to, as I have been suggested, I'm going to stop the screen share so I can show you what this looks like. Okay. Can everybody see me? Okay, I'm going to unmute you.
Yes, I see you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't thought about demonstrating this, but hey, why not? We like to improvise. I hope that's okay. All right, there's me. Yay. All right. So I'm just grabbing any old cane here, and hopefully folks can see me a bit. So I'll turn to the side so you can notice I'm holding this cane parallel to me, kind of extended in front of me. For you guys who can kind of, okay, we're kind of nodding along. Okay. And really important that it's parallel to me. And this cane is a little bit taller than I would normally use, but you should still be able to have your hand bent at like your elbow bent at 90 degrees and still comfortably be able to hold on to the grip. Remember, canes are cold, so you may want to have gloves for this and gloves that don't slip as much. So don't forget that because your hands are exposed. So as I'm, and this isn't going to be super far ahead of me. I don't want to have it way out in front, you know, whatever your comfort level is with how fast you're walking. And as I'm walking, I'm just going to extend it forward and plant it in the ground, roughly, because I don't take the most gigantic steps. So I don't really have to think about how far you step. I really only have to plant it about this far. So if I turn to the side, you can see that my elbow is just about at 90 degrees. So I'm not, you know, reaching for oblivion or swinging it like a sword, like my little guys like to, because they're so cute. So I'm going to plant it in front of me, and I can take a step, you know, and you can roughly put your foot where the cane is. You can almost pick it with your toe and plant your foot down. And then I'm going to, you know, I could even switch hands or whatever and move it horizontally across my body and plant it where my other foot's going to go, and then take the next step, and then, you know, plant it where. So just kind of moving this cane side to side just to plant it, because I know a lot of folks are really hesitant to be walking and not knowing what the terrain is, what's under the snowbank, what's under these leaves, what's under the puddle, how deep is it. So this may give you, you know, for probing your cane. And remember, when you're a cane user, you can move it any way you need to check out items. You know, you can check the depth and all of that. You don't always have to be relying on that standard grip that's out extended in front of you. So anybody have any questions about this? Anything more I can dance and show? You could also do this with 2 canes or 2 ski poles. Sorry, I've got like the cane graveyard in my office. So, you know, if you want to, you could kind of, you know, extend. This is what a lot of people we work with do with their hiking poles. When we've gone on outings outside, you know, we've a couple of folks who do that. But what I would suggest is, you know, if you're probing forward, remember that this middle area is not being checked unless, you know, so I'm extending my cane in front of like my belly button. If you just have your canes out forward, equal to your shoulder width, that's not bad, but there could be something right in the middle that you're missing. So, you know, remember with any cane technique, nothing is perfect. You know, you really have to use, you know, your knowledge and skills and your general common sense to think about, okay, if I'm using my cane in this technique, what might I miss? What are the pros and cons? So think about all that. So I would advise, you know, with this cane technique, make sure that you know, move your cane to the side, or just kind of maybe swing it a little before you plant it so that you're checking for things. Try not to lift it way off the ground to check, because again, you might be missing obstacles or changes in terrain, you know, about from 1 foot off the ground. So that is this technique. So any questions on this? Did we enjoy the demonstration? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So good suggestion for my friend June wants to see the move around. Okay. I tried to hide the paper towels and all the other, you know, businessy things in the back of my office. So, all right, now I'm going to, so that technique again, you know, if anybody wants to volunteer to make a video of that, I think we'll call it, you know, like the parallel probing, because you're holding your cane parallel to you and you're just kind of probing forward a bit. And remember, with any of these techniques, you got to walk slow. You're not going to be zooming down the sidewalk. I really don't know any of us who are zooming down sidewalks these days, but anyway. Okay. So, okay, I'll make sure people are unmuted. Everybody can kind of, let's see, I'm going to unmute everybody. Is that okay? All right. Okay, so I don't have anybody on mute. If you guys have hit that button, it's, I didn't, you know, you guys are muting yourselves, which is fine, but anyway. Back to presentation. Okay. So again, this page just covers the techniques we talked about. So a lot of this is all going to be common sense, especially for our New Englanders. You know, consider that if you're out in winter weather, and I'm not just talking about going from the house to the car, you know, hopping in and going for a ride somewhere. Think about when you were going to be outside for a little while. If you're walking around town or waiting for a bus somewhere, you know, waiting for a bus can be some of the coldest weather you experience. So, you know, dress in layers. Make sure you're wearing a water repellent outer layer, moisture wicking inner layer, ski pants, or, you know, just some people have hiking pants that they wear. You know, cover your mouth and your scarf and with a scarf, because it might just be super cold out there and some of us get bothered. You know, protect your lungs. It's going to be really, really cold. One really good suggestion, especially for safety, is to wear bright outerwear so that you're more visible. Remember, we want to be safe and visible. With hats, you want to have one that's going to be comfortable, but you want to make sure it's not going to block you hearing traffic or seeing traffic. Some hats can get really close to your face, and that might block peripheral vision, so just be aware of that. With the sun and the glare, it's really helpful to have sunglasses or a hat with a wide brim. Sunscreen is really important because whenever the sun's out, you know, it can damage you. And especially you could also get irritation, you know, skin irritation from a lot of wind. So with boots, you want to have obviously good quality boots. Think about if they're waterproof, because after a while your feet are going to get really cold. And consider a lot of our folks who are dealing with diabetes or circulation issues. You want to make sure that your feet are really, really protected. So make sure you're careful around that. Unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of cute footwear out there, but if you want to be safe, you know, don't wear something with a heel. Yeah, I know it's boring, but that's the way it is. Have something really sturdy. Make sure the soles have good traction. Make sure you got well-fitted socks. And there's a product that I really like called Yak Trax. I'm going to show you a picture of that in a second. And it's, or anyway, anything that you can have on your feet that will grip the ground like a tread or a cleat. So my next page, I'm going to show you a picture of. So the picture on the left is basically taken right out of Amazon, and it shows a pair of sneakers with the Yak Trax over them. So anybody familiar with those?
No.
Oh, they're pretty cool. Okay. So Yak Trax, you can get a lot of places, REI, maybe Walmart or LL Bean. They're basically a very sturdy, stretchy, plasticky rubber doodad that just goes over your shoe, and you can put them on any kind of shoes you want. I would, with women's dress shoes, they don't really have much to grip, so I don't think that's going to work, but they basically stretch over the bottom of your shoe, and they're real easy to put on and off. You know, you just kind of pop them on. You don't have to take your shoes off to put them on. And basically it has metal coils on the bottom that will make it, they'll give you really fabulous grip on snow and ice. I used to wear these all the time, and they're great because you don't have to, you know, worry about if you have God's gift to boots or the best shoes in the world, or if for some reason you have footwear that you have to wear for medical reasons, or, you know, your podiatrist will only allow you to wear one pair of shoes. These are really, really great. So, you know, you can take them off and put them in a little bag in your pocket. So they're there if you need them. The one thing about the metal coils, if you are walking, you know, you go into a building and you've still got them on, they can be slippery on a regular tile or smooth surface floor. So that's important to remember. The first time I wore these to bring my daughter to school, you know, of course, the door is down a long, icy sloped driveway. So the yak stacks were great. But once we got into the room, it was I found it slippery to have them on. So I just made sure I either stayed on a carpet or they're real easy to pop off. So, and at the end in this presentation is resources to buy all this stuff. So you don't have to take notes and you don't have to worry about that. So the next picture on here are just your basic set of hiking poles. So you can see they've got handle, they've got the spiky bottoms to grip stuff. These may telescope, but I'm not sure. I'm not super experienced with hiking poles, but this is for some folks who are just not familiar with them. That's what they are. Okay. Let's see. So, and I'll talk about cane tips and such in a minute. So again, with any of this, be prepared. You know, make sure you've got your options for transportation and backup. Have a really good reason to go out in bad weather. You know, think about that. We all try to balance being safe while maintaining our health and level of activity. You know, especially up here where we could have 6 months of winter. You don't want to never leave the house. But just try to balance your activity level and your things to consider for safety, because of course, for a lot of folks, you know, you slip and fall on the ice, you get an injury, and you're putting yourself at risk for the health concerns. So just, you know, keep your common sense and balance, you know, all of those things. Think about other ways to get places, you know, again, with the transportation and all that. Also consider when you're out traveling, walking down the sidewalk in town, the sun might melt things really quickly in the morning and then it could freeze in the afternoon. So, you know, the good thing, like with the Yak Tracks product, you can just put them in your pocket or have extra pairs in your pocket, because, you know, I have lost them because sometimes they'll pop off your shoe if they don't have a solid part of the shoe to grip. You know, don't travel real close to the building because sometimes the ice or snow can fall right off. So just be mindful of that. And again, we talk about how to get over a snowbank on this page. So all of this stuff, you know, just things to really consider. When curbs and curb cuts are covered with snow, it is really difficult to know where the edge of where the sidewalk is before you're in the street. So really be mindful of that. And consider too, the world is not made for us pedestrians. So even if there's an opening, really make sure that that is indeed the correct place to cross the street. And it's going to be really, really tricky because a lot of cities they'll, you know, run a machine down to clear a sidewalk, but they didn't clear the access to the push button to cross the street, or they didn't clear the sidewalk where the curb cut is, or whatever. You know, most sidewalks are cleared, and the path just goes around trees, telephone poles, and other street furniture. So just really keep that in mind, that people aren't really thinking of pedestrians, unfortunately. You know, make sure you check the wind chill, because, you know, frostbite can be very dangerous. You got to be prepared to walk through everything. Consider what snow is going to do to cars, you know, or ice or anything. They're not going to have the ability to brake and stop their cars as quickly as before. Some people do not drive well in snow. I'm sure we've all seen those people who don't drive well in snow. The acoustics when you're out and about and listening for cars and listening for crossings and all of that is going to change with snow and ice and rain. Sometimes the snow muffles sound, sometimes the snowbanks block it, or sometimes things are louder when the road is wet and it's raining. So that can impact everything. The snow can change the traffic pattern. You know, consider that. Think about when you're leaving. Are the sidewalks going to be cleared if you have a doctor's appointment at 8 o'clock in the morning? So, you know, think about all of that. And, you know, your landmarks may change. So, you know, consider that. The walking path is going to change. The landmarks, you might not be able to find your landmarks. A lot of people will use a change in terrain or certain step, or some people use a certain unique item about something they can locate on the ground. They might not be able to find it because of what the snow and ice is doing. So let's see what we're going to talk about. Okay, so resources for your for hiking poles and yak tracks and all that other stuff. You know, we just put them in here so you would have an idea of where to get stuff. So LLB and Cabela's. We've also got REI over, I think, in Garden City. Important to wear reflective clothing. So we've got the footwear, you know, you can get from Yak Tracks. Maxi Aids is another great resource, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And the different pencil tips and things. So so the different kinds of cane tips to think about using in the snow. A rolling ball tip, of course, is not going to get stuck as much. And some people also use something called a Dakota disc, which is a little bit wider, which can kind of slide over the snow. You know, there are lots of different cane tips, so I encourage people to try them out and see what they like. Make sure you know how to change your cane tip, because something that may be great for probing a snowbank might not be what you want to use once you get inside, or once you get out of the snow, or you're in a sidewalk that's more cleared. So I find a pencil tip can be really helpful to kind of, you know, poke it right through the snow and hit the ground. But again, think about how that may get stuck later on. So just make sure you know how to change the tip on your cane and you practice doing that. Maxi Aids and Ambitech also has a cane tip that has like a little spike on the end. So I will make sure that there's a resource for that there. I'll see if I can find a picture of one. So let's see, I think we covered all the footwear. Let's see. Really important about transportation, make sure you've got backup. You are able to get in touch with your backup if you need it. You know, as we always say, carry a cell phone, keep it in your pocket, even if you're just not walking too far. Heaven forbid you fall, and you can just, please don't fall, but you can just got your phone there to call somebody. Let's see, consider that when we have got really bad storms with heavy snow that's pulling down trees, Wi-Fi service and phones may change. So the service may change, you just never know. So make sure, obviously, as we in New England do, keep everything charged for when we're expecting a big storm so that your phone doesn't die and everything. Also make sure that, you know, for a lot of us, all of our phone numbers are in our phones. So if something happens to your phone, you really need to know your emergency numbers, you know, your loved one's daughter, mom, roommate, spouse, family members. Make sure you either know those numbers offhand, or you've got them either written down or somewhere separate from your phone so that you can access those, because, you know, again, most of us don't remember phone numbers anymore. Council on Aging, a lot of communities have vans and transportation options available. So check with your local places, your local senior centers. This is a really important thing to think about as well for your guide dogs. If you're going out with a guide dog, you want to protect their feet. You know, think about that. If it's too cold for you, it is probably too cold for them. And when our guide dog users are taught all about this when they get their dogs. So these are things that guide dog users should be aware of. But remember, the ice can irritate their paws. Make sure you wash their feet off. A lot of those things are chemical, and your dog, you want to make sure the dog isn't licking it off their feet. There's some products listed here that can help that. There's a protection cream. There's other things that are wax-based that are designed for sled dogs, so why not? There you can do dog booties. You can do all kinds of stuff like that. So, and you want to make sure everybody is visible. So, you know, there's protective clothing for your dog. There's mitts that fit over harnesses. So you got to also make sure, as a person with a vision impairment, you need to be able to use your hands for a cane, for a harness, for to keep yourself balanced. So make sure that you got to keep your hands really warm, especially for our folks who have diabetes and have circulation concerns, and their hands get cold right away. Have a good pair of gloves. Have something that is that keeps you warm, but also gives you the ability to grip things that you need to, or For a lot of folks, gloves will have a little cutout for the fingertips so that if you need to use a smartphone or push a button on something, you can just pop your finger out of that thing. So think about that. It's also really important to have backups of everything because I'm always losing things. There's many, many lonely gloves in my house that don't have a partner. So it's just important to keep extras of things. Keep an extra cane, keep an extra pair of yak tracks in your car, in your purse, in your pocket. So let's see. There's a lot of resources here. And again, a lot of this information I got from colleagues who in Massachusetts who have done this very training. So thanks to the Mass Commission for the Blind for all of their ideas. The ADA and state and local governments are required to make things accessible, sidewalks and all of that. So here we've got listed some of the regulations and then websites to look up the American for Disabilities Act so you know exactly what a town is required to do. So, and then I've got a list of recreation programs here to keep yourself out and about because just because you've got a vision impairment doesn't mean there isn't a way to go skiing or do adaptive sports or go hiking or doing all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of really great things out there. More resources for national parks, skiing foundations, all kinds of really, really nifty stuff. So, okay, that's the end of that. So 148. So in general, with all of this, unfortunately, there is no perfect foolproof one technique for getting around in the snow and ice. You're going to use a combination of some of the techniques that we talked about, some of the, you need hiking poles or ski poles. Remember that a long white cane is not meant to bear your weight. It's meant to slide right out from under you. So think about that. It's supposed to slide over terrain in front of you. So ski poles are your friend. Have backups of everything, stay warm, and really plan and think about, do you have to be out in the cold? Are there other ways to travel? Are there other ways to get exercise? But maintain your common sense and your level of activity and your safety at all times. Does anybody have any special tips for walking out and about in the snow?
I have used yak tracks and I can heartily recommend them.
Do you like them?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I like the ease of on and off.
Mm-hmm.
And they grab well. The elastic is very strong.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, but inside buildings, you do have to take them off.
Yeah.
Now, what about like concrete or walking on a road? Would they grip?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. You can feel them under your shoe,
Mhm.
and they're not. If I have a boot with really good threads, I'll wear that. But occasionally I don't. But they do grab because of the coils. They're not just studs. The coils help a lot, I think, anyways.
Mhm. Okay, good.
I just put them in a sandwich bag and put them in my pocket.
Yeah, they're really great for that. In general, yeah, as long as you're not on a really smooth surface like a ceramic tile floor or what kind of floor? Just like a really smooth tile floor, the yak tracks like to have some kind of texture to grab onto. And the really good thing about them is they're not going to damage a floor. So there's a lot of products out there like cleats or spikes that the minute you get inside, you're kind of limited to. You don't want to destroy, your daughter-in-law's beautiful brand new hardwood floors. So the yak tracks really aren't bad for that. It's not like you're walking around with ice skates on or anything like that. So do we have any North Country people who have additional suggestions for this?
Well, I have a question. You had said that you were going to send us a packet of what you're saying so that we could find out like where we would purchase these things. I don't have a computer or nothing like that.
Mhm.
But I would like to, if I had the information, maybe I could get somebody to order me a pair or something.
Okay, you know what, Joan, I can mail it to you.
I would appreciate that very much, so I can take it from there.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's no problem.
Joan, this
Thank
is
you.
Gloria.
Yes.
Joan, this is Gloria. Do you read Braille?
No,
Okay.
no.
I just thought it might be an option for you.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, and if you
I
want, Joan,
Yep, no worries.
yeah,
I
we
have a
can talk-
I have a suggestion about winter wear. This is Amber.
Yeah, hang on
I
one second.
have
Amber, hang on 1 second. Yeah, so Joan, I'll get in touch with you to make sure that whatever we send you is something that you can access it, be it, anyway, all that, so.
Thank you.
Before we get to your question, I looked up the Ambitech flip up spikes for canes, so I'm gonna share my screen for a second and show you guys that. Okay. So if you guys can see,
Yeah.
I know probably like, what are you doing? Okay, so here we've got a picture of a clip-on device, that has a tiny little screw that will go right on to, these are designed for support canes. If you've got a cane that, remember, different than a long weight cane, this one is, support canes are meant to grip the ground. So I tried to enlarge the picture of it. And the nifty thing with this is it's got a couple of little metal spikes that'll give you a little more grip. And this one doesn't look like it's terribly hard to get on and off. So it's called a flip up spike, and that's from Maxi Aids. And I just did a quick search for, cane tips for snow. The other one that I saw was, I'll stop my share. Okay. This one is also really nifty. That picture is really tiny. There's another product called an ice tip that also flips up. The picture is really tiny, so let me see if I can show you guys. So here in the middle of the screen is a tiny little picture of another clip-on device that is also good for support canes. Again, a lot of these devices are for support canes. So let me see what else I can find. Okay. Anybody have experience with adding spiky things to a cane tip?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Okay. Do we have a lot of, I know in general, a lot of, you guys aren't really having to walk around in the snow and ice. Does that sound right?
Yeah, we
Right,
haven't had that
right.
much.
Yeah. So we're very, we're very fortunate with a lot of the folks the folks here at Insight don't have to go out in the cold and snow. So that's really good. Let's see. Amber, you had some good ideas you wanted to share?
I have my home provider suggested that this was a couple of years ago because we lived in the Commons when I first met you. She got me it was from LL Bean. I have a pair of snow sneakers and they work really good. It's like a pair of shoes, but it's a boot. And it grips like the snow. And the only thing is they cost a lot of money, but they're very, 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 very good.
These are snow sneakers, you said?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. That is great. Okay. Anybody else have any fun stories to share about cruising through the snow or climbing a snowbank?
And I'm originally from Wisconsin, so I'm very, very, very familiar with cold.
Okay. No, that's great. That's great. Anybody have any questions or anything? We can kind of wrap this up if we're done. Okay. Well, Thank you once again for joining our webinar. I hope you found it helpful somewhat. And again, we're going to send this copy of this training to everybody. The one thing I wanted to let you guys know is we're starting a new workshop series that I know a lot of you folks are already signed up for. Thank you. Called O&M, What Works for Me, inspired by Angie, who's awesome. Because at the end of these conversations is always when we seem to get the best ideas. And Angie said one time, well, I may not have the perfect solution, but here's what works for me. So we are going to start having, and if you guys like it, please join, please tell folks who are inside clients or just folks who have vision issues that they're dealing with. And it's just going to be a discussion run by you guys to share really good ideas about stuff. Our assistive technology department has been doing these and they're really fabulous. Got a bunch of people signed up. So keep in touch for that. The first one is starting next week, same time as this. So the Zoom meeting information, I'm going to email that out this afternoon for that one. So, okay. And next month we are doing, I'm doing a webinar on driverless cars, which is really interesting.
I signed up for that. It's awesome.
Oh, well, not often yet, but I hope it's awesome.
I can't wait.
I hear you. So yeah, we're living in the, because according to the Jetsons and all those other future, remember in Back to the Future, I don't know what year they went to in one of those, but we were supposed to have flying cars 10 years ago. So according to them.
Melissa, could you imagine a blind person driving a car? It would almost be like the Weasleys, like muggles are not accustomed to flying cars. I'm like, oh right.
Yeah, anything's possible. Why not? So yeah, Carla can volunteer her car for people to drive. How's that sound?
I literally drove a car at my cousin at my Aunt Dawn's house with my cousin Derek, and I drove it in a field, and I was doing donuts and stuff like that, so it's possible.
I can't imagine. Wisconsin. Yeah, I can't imagine all of us driving up to Insight in our driverless cars.
Oh,
that would be awesome.
That would be a hoot.
And get out of the way.
That's right. Yeah,
We
make
need
sure
a
everybody's
special
got a horn.
parking lot.
No, funny. All right, so I'm going to stop our recording. Yes.